Hi and welcome to Artist Spotlight. I'm Henry Balzarini. Tonight's guests are Acid Zoe. Stay tuned. Acid Zoe is the name of your production?
Yeah, so what happened was, back when I was about 18, I formed my first band, and midway through that I realized that I needed some kind of outlet outside of the band to be creative so I could be fulfilled in the band.
Okay.
So I came up with the alias. I don't remember how I came up with it initially, but it stuck. And it was just a way for me to do my own work where I felt like I was contributing to myself creatively and also to the band. So I had a little bit of both.
So you've been working under that name for a little while.
Yeah, and it was really just a way for me to have an alias to release my own material, and yeah, I've been working under it since since I was 19. Now I'm 34. Yeah. And
Acid Zoe is consisting of Tristan and Theresa Berard. So Tristan, what's the connection with you two? Do you work together a lot, or?
Yeah, so Theresa and I met. Where did we meet now?
Probably about 2005.
Right, about 2005, and we were in another band together. I played guitar, she played bass.
Okay.
A friendship developed, and over the years when I was in the studio with Zoe, Theresa and I would collaborate. Theresa sings, and it's been ever since then. We have a way that we work, and we just
Good flow.
we just stayed at it. Yeah.
Good. Well, and so what kind of stuff have you done together?
So
where are you in the process?
Well, you had been working on a project, and I don't know if you had released anything before that. Was it Vega?
Yeah, so what happened was in our last band, I had released one Zoe album prior that Theresa sang on. That's when we kind of got to know each other a little bit and how we worked. And that was while we were in other bands. So there was a constant workflow where now I'm not involved in that anymore, so I can just focus on Zoe, focus in the studio. And so that's why the workflow with Theresa was natural. We lived together, and she comes upstairs to the studio, we can mix and
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Do you so you have some actual albums that are out? One album.
One album.
And that is Acid Zoe.
Yeah, it's Acid Zoe. The title of the album is Vega. Online, I think it's on iTunes. I had a website, but as you'll find out about me, I'm a bit of a hermit. Teresa's trying to get me need a SoundCloud. You gotta be online. So once I release this next album, which should be fairly soon, I'll make sure to do that. And she cracks the whip, so make sure I get that out. She's right.
Have, the Velvet Reply.
Oh, I did one thing earlier in 2008 where I had a friend help me, and it was my first foray into doing anything on my own with Zoe, and I did it as kind of a handout. I didn't charge anything for it, but I'm really proud of it because it was the first. It was all the mistakes and all the growing pains.
Yeah.
And that's when I first started.
And that's when
That's
when. Oh, I'm sorry. That's when. So back in 2008. Yeah, that was the first time.
Yeah, and then Vega was just released not too long ago.
Yeah, maybe like a year or two ago.
Yeah.
Everything kind of molds into one sometimes. It's kind of
Sure. So it's on iTunes.
Yeah. So if you
can.
Yeah. So if you go on iTunes and you search Acid Zoe, you'll see an album come up with a big, beautiful orchid on it that my mom took. I used the artwork. My mom's a photographer, so I used her work for the album. So it's very noticeable. You'll know when you see it.
Right.
Yeah.
Are you two from this area originally?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm from Springfield. Well, from before that, I was born in Manchester, Connecticut, and lived in the Coventry area until I was about 8, and then moved to Springfield. So I would say Springfield is my home base.
Okay. And Tristan, you too?
Born in Springfield, raised in West Springfield, and now we live in Springfield again. So the same general area, 10 miles give or take here and there.
There's I'm discovering that there's quite a lot of stuff going on in Springfield.
Yeah, sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, it's true, and I can thank Theresa for a lot of this exposure. You were at Stick, and you really, just the community at Stick, once she opened us up to that, it was just, there's a lot of artists doing a lot of things here. a lot of different people.
Yeah, a lot of events that, you know, are just happening at Stick Alone, and as well, because there's so many people coming together there, you're exposed to a lot of what is going on around you, and
Right.
meeting different people, and meeting other artists and musicians.
And it's not even like we were just meeting musicians, we would meet painters and photographers, and it was amazing. And people who were here, they weren't just studying here, they weren't, you know, they didn't just move, like they're living here.
Mhm.
You know, it was nice. It was nice to see.
Yeah, it's something that needs to be brought out a bit more, I think. Because people, you know, Springfield has its image, and you don't always think of art.
Mm.
Yeah, you know, it's funny, I remember though, and you're right, I agree with that. As a kid though, when I remember coming over the bridge with my dad, we used to go to remember Johnson's bookstore, you walk under the ground? Oh.
I'm a Boston native.
You're a Boston native. Is anyone a Springfield native here? If remember Johnson's? Okay. Well, I remember thinking, doing that, and it was just this old bookstore where you could enter from the ground, and then you were in the city. And I look at the city now, it's a pretty small metropolitan area, but as a kid, it was, and I remember thinking, everyone creative I knew was from here. And I guess just even now, like in my head, you know, some people think, oh, people are in California or New York, that's where creative people are everywhere. And to me, I always thought if I was in Springfield, you know, and I still feel that. I feel that here. There's a lot of creativity here and a lot of things going on, like I said, things we would never know about.
Yeah, just this building alone.
Just this building, yeah.
You've exposed us to it,
It's
so.
like 100 things going on in the same building. Yeah.
Are you guys full-time artists?
Oh, I wish in other words, is it paying my bills?
Yeah.
Oh, I wish I could sit here with all the conviction in me and say that it was, but Teresa would call me on it if I lied.
Yeah.
No, I'm not, but at the same time though, I can say that I'm very thankful that up until this point in my life, I haven't compromised a thing, and I feel like everything, we were talking about it earlier, I've been blessed to have good teachers.
Yeah.
Ever since I was 3rd grade, since I first learned jazz to now, I've had good teachers and good people around me. I wouldn't have done anything if I didn't have those people around me. No way.
Tell me about one of your teachers.
Well, we'll start from the beginning, I guess. In the 3rd grade, I remember the band director coming into the auditorium. We're all sitting there. He comes and he plays these instruments. He says, "You want to learn? Come down and sign up." I had never even thought of it before, but I saw the saxophone and I said, "I'll do it." So since I was in 3rd grade, he taught me jazz, and he was so hard on me all the time, but in that way of like, you need to get this, man. Like, how serious are you? Don't waste my time. I'm not wasting your time.
Yeah.
So early on, I got that work ethic, and yeah, just along the way at every level, whether it be people through my parents who were artists, or people like Teresa, just always, you know, I'm just surrounded by good people. That's what I've been fortunate. I feel like I'm lucky, really. Just a victim of circumstance.
Or you could draw them to you.
I
Looking at it.
I feel very fortunate.
What about you, Teresa? What's been some of your influences?
Well, I come from a family of artists. My grandmother was a painter, and my mother is a painter as well as she draws. And
Amazing.
you know, my dad is I would say he's a performer, whether he means to be or not.
He's there.
Oh,
Yes, and I do remember, I think we were in church and we were singing just in the regular pews, we're all there, you know, for the service. And this woman turned around to him and she said, "You sound like the voice of God." It was just, because he's got this big, very deep, powerful voice.
Yeah.
It's not always on tune, but it's, you know,
And
it's still a force.
I've heard that voice performing with Teresa over the years. You get to hear that bellowing voice that the songs over here.
Yeah.
I want to hear my girl. I want to hear her sing. It's like Vic talks, you listen. It's like, yes, sir. We will get right on that, sir.
Yeah.
Voice of God.
It's the voice of God.
So when did you start singing?
Oh
On your
boy.
own? Or did you sing in the family when you were younger and were comfortable doing that, or?
Actually, I think I began singing as soon as I saw my first Disney movie.
Yeah.
So, The Little Mermaid,
The Little
Pocahontas,
Mermaid.
all those Disney movies that had a song in it, I would be singing them all day long. And, but not really in public.
Okay.
And I think I was definitely very shy.
And when did that happen? The first time you sang in public? Do you remember?
I think it was it wasn't intentionally in public. I think I was at my grandmother's house. And I think I was just in the other room, like, belting it out. And then when I came into the kitchen where everyone was sitting and eating, you know, all just looking at me. And they're like, "That was lovely." And I was just like,
And I
Oh,
and I know
no.
Teresa's
had an audience
Yeah.
that you didn't know about.
Yes, so here it was like heart and soul being poured out
Yeah.
and had an
Yeah.
audience I didn't know, yeah.
Kind of a nice way to start.
Yeah.
Their family's very honest too. They're brutally honest. So they meant that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So how do you work? And work together too, but from what I'm gathering is you kind of have your Acid Zoe is your thing that you work on
Yeah.
as your artistic expression.
Yeah, you know, with Teresa and I, it's interesting because I think with Zoe, I got into a pattern that wasn't particularly healthy artistically too over the years, where I sequestered myself to the point where, you know, it's not cool to be a hermit and to shut yourself off and things. And it doesn't even sound cool me saying it, but I did that for so long. I think my work suffered. I wasn't being exposed to enough. I wasn't putting enough time into the band that I was in, or vice versa.
Yeah.
Meeting Teresa though, and just our personalities and our life experience, I think we work in a way where, let's say with this project, with this album, you know, there's a format, there's a theme to the album, there's you know, there's a groundwork. But when Teresa collaborates, when she brings what she does to the table in, everything changes. And then from there, the song begins to take shape. So what we start with is, you know, the theme's maintained, but it's developed and it's matured. And we just have a way where we don't have we allow each other to collaborate as we're going to. There's no, you're going to do this now and you're going to do that. No. There's a construct we stay within, but the reason why we're collaborating is because you know,
Just works.
yeah, her input's just as vital as mine in that respect. You know, and I found that working that way, very special things come out of that, rather than just holding yourself up and, okay, it's done.
Yeah.
You're not listening.
Because you
doing
don't
it.
write parts for me. If anything,
Never,
you do a
never.
bulk of the work for a long time prior, before I mean, not necessarily because that's the way it's supposed to be, but because.
It's just the workflow, it's just how
I mean,
it happens.
Sometimes you've given me your ideas that were very bare bones, like I think with the Velvet Recline, that's how it was
Yeah.
had started. It was very, the structure was there were some little elements, and then I began singing, and it kind of went back and forth. And then there was other albums where there was a lot of work done on your part, and I was, came in towards the end.
And it's funny with those, and kind of the way we work now is, now I can be more focused and I'm more direct in like what I'm trying to say, but that's all the more reason why by the time it gets to Teresa, my hands are off. The vocals are recorded, we discuss it, and then the song takes on the life that it's eventually going to have. Whereas it's not like the song is written, I give it to Teresa and go, so here's how you're gonna do these lines, this is what you're gonna do here, and then we'll edit it. No, well that's not collaboration.
Right.
You know, I mean, it's, you know, so there's that element of fear that I like to work under, where we're both kind of giving each other up to this idea, and it could backfire, it could blow up, but with the way we work, that hasn't happened, and we kind of, we like the challenge, we like there's this masochistic kind of thing to it, you know, I like the work, I like to work, I like to be in the studio working, I don't like, you know, I'll lose sleep and I'll do that, you know, I would rather do that, you know, because what comes out of that is what we want.
Because in a sense, you're giving up the vision you initially had by
Yeah.
giving,
It matures.
allowing me to be part of it. Because I'm going to interpret it in a totally different way,
Right,
and my interpretation ultimately changes it.
right,
And, but it's a synthesis nonetheless, and that
Oh, yeah.
you both believe in it.
Yeah.
yeah.
You're pretty lucky because I imagine that there's a lot of, there are not a lot of people who work so well together artistically. I mean, it's not easy to do, I should say.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But, so you sing on all the music? Do you sing any of it?
I do a little. I don't sing too much. I'll do some things here and there. But Teresa and another friend of ours usually are the featured vocalists in the sense where when I'm writing the track, I'm writing with Teresa in mind. I'm writing with a friend in mind. I'm writing with me in mind.
Mhm.
You know, something where, you know, even though it's going to change, the general idea is there. And so yes, you know, so Teresa won't sing on everything. I won't sing on everything, but it's kind of like an experience. The mood is maintained. Everything's not in a little bow, but to me, it's the experience. I mean, you could take one of my songs out from an album and it may not make any sense, but I would like to think, hopefully, if I've done my job within the construct of the project, okay, that fits. I see.
Full concept? Is this album Vega?
Yeah.
Concept?
Vega was not. This next one's going to be though, and it's I think it's the most what am I thinking? I finally learned to just focus a little bit and really just say something instead of more or less like a mixtape. Like I want to say something here, I had a story, something linear, and again, Tristan and I collaborated, and just
How far along is that?
oh, we got final vocals. I mean, really, we're at the mastering stage now. I'm working with a good friend of mine who is helping with the artwork. One of my influences, I was a big comic book fan growing up, so I love graphic novels. So that was the influence of this, Thousand Tales of the Naked City kind of thing, and Springfield's an inspiration, obviously. And so he's helping me on that end, where we're trying to go in the vein of a graphic novel, so the artwork is synonymous with the music.
Okay.
We're hoping. I'm hoping. Yeah, I'm hoping so much that's what happens.
I mean, what do you use as your equipment? I mean, is it all digital and electronic?
It's funny. Over the years, being being blessed to be around good people, I've had good teachers even within my bands. And with my first band, an old friend of mine taught me a great deal about making just the overall workflow of like what you're bringing into a studio, what you're bringing live, make it as refined and as easy to use as possible. So while I have a borderline fetish when it comes to synthesizers and so forth, I don't have a lot of gear. I've stripped it down over the years because I find I work better with less gear. I get more out of that gear. I mean, some of the software I use, my friend from my first band gave me, and it was old then. It was this old software version of a drum machine, but I love it. And I always use it. And people make fun. Anytime someone hears that I use it, I don't care. Because it's one of the tools. It's just a tool to me. That's all it is. The computer is just a tool. I'm not married to it. I'm married to the synthesizer, but I was raised with Depeche Mode, and I grew up really idolizing that sound. Like, to me, I always knew I'd work with them eventually. Yeah. Work with synthesizers, but yeah, I guess that's the medium now. Who knows? Maybe down the line it'll change. Maybe something changes, but as long as it makes sense. I wear it like a badge of honor. I'm happy to have been born when I was born. Definitely.
That's what makes you the artist that you are.
Yeah.
And the things that you.
That and my parents.
Your parents.
I'm telling you, just like I said about good teachers, it's like one of my mom's friends who is an organist here in town. He's one of the most. I have to give it up to him. Ladislaw Pfeiffer is one of the most brilliant musicians I've ever had the pleasure of knowing, and he's still good friends with my mother. I don't see Lad as much as I'd like to. But just a quick aside, when I was very young, I helped him paint at his house. They had an old Victorian down by Bay State. I'll never forget, he gave me a few kind of rules of the road where he's like, oh, your mom says you're serious about music, and I'm a kid. And he told me, he just said, don't stop working. The marrow of it is the work. Once you're done, there's kind of like a sadness. There's like, well, when's the next thing? It's so, this perpetual state of work for me, that's when I'm happy. Even if I'm worn down or even if I'm a little stressed out by other things, it's the work. And that's the love. I don't like finishing things. Like, even thinking about the end of this, I'm thinking about what we're gonna do, next.
Yeah.
So, but I have to say, I'm glad I had to mention him, because he's just been one of many influences that have just pointed me in the right direction when I should have easily gone other ways.
The style that you do mostly, that you enjoy doing?
I would say I definitely bring like a very blues kind of sound to a lot of what I work with.
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure where that comes from, to be honest.
I think I know from your musical family. And
Oh,
Teresa
yeah,
won't
it
say
could be
this,
it.
but they've been by the house. They'll be on the porch. We'll have a party, celebrating.
Oh, yeah.
I don't mean to do this to you, but I'm going to do it. We're celebrating Teresa's graduation, and mom and dad are there, and grandparents and the whole family. All the Berards are there, and they break out in song in the chorus. They're singing like traditional. What was just traditional songs?
We were singing Decolores.
Is it Canadian? Is it French Canadian?
No, it's a Spanish song.
Oh, Spanish. Okay.
And so it's kind of funny because I think when I started playing guitar, my grandfather was very supportive in his very comical way, just like, bring the guitar. And anytime I would come, he would just say, like, Decolores. And so
So you have background in traditional music because of that, is that?
Yeah.
Ethnic from some ethnic background?
Myself.
What is your what is that song you were just talking about?
Well, that's a Spanish song.
Spanish song.
To my knowledge, I don't have any Spanish.
Which makes it even better that they were singing that.
Yes.
I just like
French Canadian.
That's what I thought.
Okay.
So romance language, yes.
So it made it in there.
Yeah, exactly. So Yeah. My dad's mother sings in the choir at church, so she was definitely always singing. She's a soprano. So it was interesting hearing that, because naturally I'm an alto and I can't hit those notes, but that's fine.
If music is around you as you're growing up, I'm sure that's part of you, and that's you.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, so definitely, and on my mom's side as well. My grandmother, who was a painter, also played piano. My grandfather played cello, and my aunt played guitar. And then my cousin played guitar, trombone, and he plays upright bass now, so.
yeah, your family could just have their own show.
Yes, we thought about it, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think they still should.
Yeah. Just a
I
all
see
like
it. I would
12
be
people.
Yeah.
We did think about it.
Yeah, I would
Let me know, maybe we can have them on the artist podcast.
Oh,
All right.
brilliant.
All right.
Get all the Ferraris right here.
Yeah.
I'll be on the other side of the camera for that one, boy. I'll be looking at it.
I'll put the instruments down for
Yeah.
Thanksgiving and be like, okay, you're on.
So what are you gonna do tonight? What song are you gonna do tonight?
So we're gonna do a song called Manuela and the War Machine.
Manuela and the War
It's
Machine.
called Manuela and the War Machine, and Manuela is a reoccurring character in the participant, and it's Teresa sings on a number of songs, obviously this one, but she sings in Italian,
Oh.
and both the songs that she sings main vocals on are Italian in this, and I don't know if you want to talk about maybe why, because I was always interested in why when Teresa came to the table with it, I didn't know initially. This is again the collaboration.
Yeah.
We talk about the song. She says, "I'll track in a couple days." She comes in to track, and it's Italian.
Mhm.
Right.
You speak Italian?
Oh, Paul.
She's being modest.
I do speak Italian. I started studying when I graduated with my associates from STIC, and it was just on a whim I decided to go abroad. And so I was there in Italia for 6 weeks and in an immersion Italian program. So
Oh.
that's definitely, I learned a lot. I was definitely speaking.
So you wrote this song, and it's in Italian.
Yes.
Cool.
So obviously it's a big part of my life, because I still continue speaking Italian and meeting people all over Springfield and networking with people who also speak it to continue practicing.
That's great.
Yeah, and it's interesting with this song in particular. You know, she's singing in Italian, and I don't. My mom's side's Italian, and I should know more than I do, but I don't.
Yeah.
But as you'll hear, it's introspective, and she repeats a line to herself effectively. You know, this is the last time. This is the last time, and to me, it meant a lot that she did it in Italian, because it just added again another dimension to it, where even if you ask the question why, it's irrelevant, because it just becomes part of the context of the album. You know?
When I hear foreign music sung, it takes me away from the words, so I can just listen to the sound of the words, the sound of the lyrics, the sound of the voice that's doing the lyrics, and it's another instrument, of course.
Yeah, I would say that, you know, obviously I've been practicing Italian and English, obviously, but I've been practicing Italian a lot more recently, and sometimes, at least with this song, I was listening and hearing, not necessarily thinking of meaning, but thinking of, a lot of the times, even if it's in English, when I'm writing the lyrics, the sound and the syllables come first, and
Okay.
the meaning kind of falls in there.
Yeah. We'll be right back with Acid Zoe, doing a song from their album, The Participant. And now, Acid Zoe with Manuela and the War Machine.
Questa è l'ultima volta. 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 questa è l'ultima volta.
Very nice. Tristan Tash, Theresa Berard, and Acid Zoe, thank you for being here tonight. You're very welcome.
Thank you, Henry.
If people want to get the music, what should they do?
So-
They can go to iTunes, right?
You can go to iTunes,
Yeah.
but you can contact me directly, acidzoe@gmail.com, and I'd be happy to get anybody any music if iTunes isn't cutting it. Get you.
Spotlight, thanks Acid Zoe, and thank you and good night.